So the U.S. Treasury says that we've been hacked by China. And I just got to ask you guys before we get started with this video, does anybody buy this? Like, does anyone really believe that, that this is really what's going on here? I'm calling bull. I'm trying to keep it PG, but I'm calling bull. Happy New Year, guys. You guys type in Happy New Year in the comments down below. Appreciate you guys joining me. Thank you for hitting the like button and subscribe. And check us out.
A Chinese state-sponsored actor hacking the U.S. Treasury Department in what's being called a major cybersecurity breach. The hackers remotely accessing several user workstations and gained access to unclassified documents after compromising a third-party software service provider. That provider, Beyond Trust, informed the department about the hack on December 8th. A Treasury Department spokesperson says the compromised service has now been taken offline. Right now, there's no evidence China still has access to the systems. The FBI and the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency are also now investigating. I want to bring in Fox News contributor, Heritage Foundation Senior Fellow for China Strategy, and author of The 100-Year Marathon, Michael Pillsbury.
Man, so these guys, the government, Janet Yellen, the Treasury, they want to bring in digital currencies. They want to bring in CBDCs. They're supposed to protect the American people and our money. You let China hack into our systems? Really? I mean, it wasn't even that long ago that Janet Yellen was over in Beijing bowing like 1 million times to Xi Jinping. I mean, like, what's up with this? And also, like, why does the Treasury, the U.S. Treasury, have some third-party company managing the security of the Treasury? Why do we have private sector companies protecting the public sector? And maybe this is the way it should be, but it just seems a little bit weird. Like, why doesn't the public sector protect itself, especially when you have super sensitive material like, the U.S. Treasury, right? I'm just saying, guys, you let me know what you think here. Something's off here. Something is definitely off.
Michael, I guess I'm becoming a big cynic when it comes to government systems and cybersecurity, but I was not in the least bit surprised.
Oh, that was the other thing. So they said they hacked in through like a workstation. A workstation, for those of you guys who don't know, is like a desktop, right? So imagine like you work in, whatever corporate environment. You're sitting at a cubicle. I was in corporate America for like 25 years. And one of the things that people used to do was you download some software. And it didn't have to be software, but in this case, let's just go with software since it was a hack here, right? Some people would download software so that their manager would never see their computer system go like away. Cause like if you don't move the mouse or type anything for like 5 minutes or 2 minutes, depending upon what the timer is set to, then your manager would see, oh, well, Ron's away from his computer, or Ron is doing something, he's not working, right? Especially people who work remotely. They want to look like they're working, right? So that their manager don't, tap them on the shoulder and say, hey, what are you doing, right? So people would download the software that's kind of like sometimes it's Mouse Jiggler or some other like simple software that basically moves the mouse ever so slightly just to keep your computer from going to sleep. And they're saying that basically they got in through a workstation. Well, I wonder if it was one of these software pieces that someone downloaded that maybe had a backdoor allowing hackers to get in that way. Possibly. Just throwing it out there.
Surprised that Treasury got hacked yesterday.
Cheryl, you're not alone. I think a lot of us are becoming cynics that the Chinese seem to have access to almost any American secrets they want to get. It obviously is good for them to focus on Treasury Department. Treasury is where the sanctions are. Treasury is where the currency manipulation issue is discussed. So in a way, I'm surprised that they didn't hack Treasury even earlier.
Well, Samantha Dravis has a question along those lines for you. She's on set with me. Samantha, go ahead.
They got our social security numbers the other day. They're hacking into the U.S. I don't believe this. I cannot believe what they're trying to tell us here.
I wanted to ask you, clearly it seems we don't have what we need to deter these threats. They're very concerning. And I would like to know, what are your thoughts on CISA, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Agency? There's been a lot of criticism that this is an agency in need of dire reform. There were reports that the agency was weaponized to go after disinformation on social media, and it was really weaponized into an agency that strayed from its true purpose. And so I actually took the time to go to their website and their Twitter. I don't see them posting anything about this. What is their response? And do you have concerns that this agency needs reform?
Yes, you've identified a really important problem, that different parts of our government are alert to the China threat to different degrees. And it's ironic that sometimes the people in charge of a really specific issue seem to be asleep at the switch. The Pentagon seems to be quite active. They put out reports, they conduct exercises, they're building a new generation of weapon systems. So the Pentagon doesn't need guidance on the China threat. Someone else who doesn't need guidance is Donald Trump himself. I'm an eyewitness that he went through real friction with most of his government in the first term on trying to get the China trade talks going and get a meaningful deal. A lot of the government just would not help Mr. Trump, and he had to conduct meetings and pretty much micromanage things himself. So I hope the lessons learned for the next term, all these mistakes that happened in the first term that President Trump had to correct. He had to fire some people too, as is well known. And if you're doing research on this, you might enjoy 4 or 5 of the memoirs that have come out. Jared Kushner's memoir, Peter Navarro's, Bob Lighthizer. They go into the friction and how much trouble there was among different units. And finally, President Trump just had to step in again and again and make things happen. I hope that's what's going to happen in the next term.
Well,
China hacks U.S. Treasury Department in a major breach is what they're telling us, right? This is the Biden administration again. What do y'all think about this? Like, do you think Trump would have allowed this to happen in his administration? I'm not saying that this could not have happened in Trump's administration. I'm just wondering, do you think that Trump would have allowed this to happen? It just seems like there's so many things that are being permitted to occur under the Biden administration. It's crazy to the point where it almost makes me wonder, are you in on it? You know, I mean, we just got pictures the other day that Joe Biden and Hunter Biden are in the same room with Xi Jinping and some other Chinese associates, officials, possibly business partners, right? So is it impossible to think that Hunter Biden and Joe Biden and someone from China had something worked out where they're like, hey, if you hack in on this particular day, you can get in, and here's how. I don't know. Like, is that what happened? I would say it's not impossible.
Well, I think it's pretty clear that he learned a lot in his first term, and he's going to be doing things very differently in his second term. Xi Jinping, by the way, reportedly telling President Biden in a condolence letter about Jimmy Carter that the U.S.-China relationship is one of the most important in the world. Chinese state media says that Xi is also, quote, willing to work with the U.S. to promote the development of, quote, healthy, stable China-U.S. relations. I'm curious, Michael, if you buy that. But the Wall Street Journal is reporting that the U.S.'s channels with China have gone dark ahead of Trump's return to the White House. They say, and this is the Journal, Chinese officials have repeatedly tried and failed to get access to Trump's inner circle. What do you make of that?
Well, this is why Susie Wiles' ban on cabinet nominees posting their opinions is so important. We just can't have friction and trouble before the president is even inaugurated. And some people are already putting out things who are nominees or possible ambassadors that can mislead the Chinese. President Trump, about 25 years ago, wrote a book on how China was our major threat and what he would do if president. This is 25 years ago. And he said unpredictability and really harsh sanctions are the only way to get China's attention. It's in the book. 25 years is a long time, and we really haven't succeeded in implementing President Trump's vision then, candidate Trump, you might say, although he didn't run in 2000. So that's what
Michael,
we face right now.
I don't have a lot of time with you. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sure. Wow. Do you think, and the other scary thing, I mean, they got our Social Security numbers the other day. Social Security numbers, guys. Okay. Just imagine what they can do with that, right? The U.S. Treasury Department, you would think, would have some of the highest security, right? And I've seen, people saying that the Treasury Department's password for getting in was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They had some really simple, rudimentary passwords. Like, y'all didn't even try to protect us. It's just it's ridiculous, right? And there's just so much reactionary actions that are happening right now. But where's the proactive protection, right? But the other thing is think about the stock market. Think about like the government is not ready to go digital. You know what I'm saying? Like the government is not ready for central bank digital currencies, which they want. The Fed wants to do that. We've heard Jerome Powell talk about that not too long ago. And just think these foreign adversaries, you got these drones flying in from God knows where. I don't know. We were hearing that these drones were flying in off the coast. Some people were reputable sources were claiming that these drones that were flying in were coming from Iran. There was some mothership that was sending them in. Who knows how many miles off the east coast of America. And we were seeing these drones all over New Jersey, all over New York, and different states. And of course, there was no clear answer for why we're suddenly seeing all of these huge drones, 6 feet drones the size of buses, drones the size of SUVs and cars. And then recently, we were hearing about all of this mysterious fog that was being observed. So, and the fog was so eerie, it was almost scary. And a lot of people are like, "What is really going on here?" But yeah, like this, you can't tell me that they're being 100% transparent with us. They never are. And I really don't expect them to. But what gets me is like what they expect the American people to believe, I think is silly and borderline offensive for them to actually think that we believe half the nonsense that they be telling us.
But when you say mislead the Chinese, can you be more specific on that?
Well, there's hawks and doves in any government dealing with China.
And this is such a coincidence, right? It's such a coincidence that this is happening right as Joe Biden's going out the door. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is borderline one of the worst administrations in history. I mean, Biden just got slapped figuratively on the wrist by a federal judge. I think it was a Texas judge for selling border wall material. And the judge basically said, "Hey, Joe Biden, your administration can no longer sell this border wall material. You have to refrain from doing that for at least 30 days. This guy is just trying to give away materials that Trump's administration plans on using in order to complete the border wall. This material was bought like 3-4 years ago, probably maybe even 5 or 6 years ago now that I think about it, at a much lower price than you can get it for today. And this guy is in a hurry all of a sudden to give away for pennies on the dollar, good working, well, I mean, it's like border wall material. It's not like it moves or functions except for like it's a stationary object. So I don't want to say like working, but there's nothing wrong with it. Like this could be used, and they're trying to work overtime to get rid of all of this before their target was originally to get rid of it before Christmas. But you see what I'm saying? Like this is like almost intentional sabotage here. Tell me if you feel me on this, guys.
People like Steve Bannon, who's very proud to say that China is the focus of evil. We've got Peter Navarro sometimes saying we should pull all U.S. companies out. We've got Gordon Chang saying close the embassy, have no relations with China, stop all trade. On the other extreme, you've got people who want to have business as usual with China. So what President Trump had to do in the first term is resolve these different points of view, including firing people. The president's in charge, and he's the only one who has the 25-year history of just how tough you have to be on China to get results.
What do you make of the criticism that Elon Musk has received, in particular because of his businesses in China? He is someone that is very close to President-elect Trump right now, and of course is tasked with DOGE and cost cutting. But he has been criticized by the mainstream media because of the Tesla issue and production in China. Does that factor into what you're talking about here?
You know, we got New York City preparing for Happy New Year, guys, by the way. Happy New Year. I know we've got a couple, like an hour and a half or so before the new year, the ball drops. But, you know, I hope that there's no Chinese hackers that hack into the New York City ball drop. You know what I'm saying? Like, who knows what these hackers have access to? Because the Trojan horses and these types of viruses that these highly skilled international Chinese hackers have access to, many times they have control, they have the ability to access for a long period of time, but they wait for very opportune times to take action on the access that they have, if that makes sense, right? So here we are, December 31st, 2024, just almost minutes before the New York City, before the major celebration that takes place every year in New York City in Times Square, in Manhattan. Who knows if they're going to hack the ball? Maybe they make the ball say something weird on it, or maybe the ball doesn't go down, or maybe they turn off the power in New York City and make a complete blackout. Like, who knows what they might do or what they have access to? And I'm not trying to pump fear in the least bit. I'm just looking at the fact that these people are telling us that the Chinese have somehow hacked into the U.S. Treasury Department. If this is theoretically true, well, what else do they have access to? What else have they already hacked into but didn't actually take action to make their presence known yet? You know, this is concerning.
Yes, it does. Elon Musk is one of the few around President Trump who has had a lot of contact with Xi Jinping. To have success in Shanghai with his huge Tesla factory there that he's the sole owner of, that's a huge achievement. He knows how to work with the Chinese and get what he wants. On the other hand, everybody knows he'll be kind of vulnerable to pressure on the Tesla factory in Shanghai. So it cuts both ways. Elon Musk could be a major asset and someone who knows how to deal with Xi Jinping as well as President Trump, or he could be a problem that he seems to speak up and take the Chinese line from time to time.
What do y'all think? You think Elon Musk is going to be more of an asset or more of a liability for America with his relationship with Xi Jinping in China? I mean, I'd like to hope that Trump made a smart decision selecting Vivek Ramaswamy as well as Elon Musk as his key members of the DOGE Department of Government Efficiency Task Force. But obviously, you know, only time will tell. But, you know, as Michael Pillsbury, the Heritage Foundation senior fellow, has just pointed out, that Elon Musk is the sole owner of the Tesla factory in China. So China's not one to allow non-Chinese ownership of property. I mean, heck, they don't even like Chinese individuals to have ownership of property there. The government will rather own property. So for Elon Musk to be able to negotiate the Tesla factory, the Tesla operations, the site in China to be solely owned by him, solely owned by Tesla, that speaks volumes. That's some significant negotiation skills. You know what I mean? I mean, think about it. You know, if he can negotiate with many people refer to Xi Jinping as a dictator, a communist. So if Elon Musk can negotiate terms, favorable terms, to have him be the sole owner, maybe Elon Musk has a lot more pull than we realize that could be leveraged. Now, of course, well, you know, only time will tell. Maybe it's not what we think it is, but I think it could be a beneficial relationship.
But we also want to get to some other top stories that we are following for you right here on Live Now from Fox. And it has to do with a big hack that happened recently, and it was just announced by U.S. Treasury. They say that Chinese hackers stole documents in a major incident. And right now that is being discussed, of course, in different avenues here, as Chinese state-sponsored hackers breached the U.S. Treasury Department's computer security guardrails this month and stole documents in what Treasury called a major incident, according to a letter to lawmakers. The hackers compromised third-party cybersecurity service provider Beyond Trust and were able to access unclassified documents there. So a major security breach that we want to continue to talk about right here on Live Now from Fox. And I want to bring in our next guest here this hour to help break down this breach and what it can mean. So this is Nathaniel Bradley with Data Vault Holdings. He is the founder and CEO. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
When they say unclassified documents, does that mean that these are documents that the U.S. government didn't even get a chance to classify yet? Or have they removed the classified status of the documents and they're now unclassified? Because what's really scary is if these are documents that they didn't even get around to classify, and so they're unclassified documents because they haven't been reviewed yet, these Chinese hackers could theoretically have their hands on some very, very critical information. Disturbing to say the least. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna leave you guys with that. I hope you guys get yourself some credit protection, maybe even lock your credit reports just to be on the safe side. I'm just saying, because who knows? They've already got our social security numbers. Our government doesn't seem to be doing the best job at protecting the American citizens. Hopefully it will be better under the Trump administration. If you haven't already, definitely, I appreciate you guys hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Thank you so much for sharing this video on your social media websites. Thank you for emailing this video to other people to get this information out about what's going on here. Thank you so much for subscribing. Happy New Year to you guys. Shout out to all the people who are standing in the middle of New York City right now, waiting for the ball to drop. Hopefully it's not too cold today. But anyway, let me know your thoughts, guys. Appreciate you rocking with me. And I wish you all the best